In the story of country music, some names are more than just names. They're legends. Randy Travis and Alan Jackson are two of them. They're pillars of the neo-traditionalist movement that back in the late 80s and early 90s pulled country music back to its roots with a sound that felt both classic and brand new. Their careers blew up at the same time, a picture-perfect story of massive success. They shared space on the charts, on award stages, and in the hearts of millions of loyal fans. From the outside, it looked like the perfect setup for a classic, Nashville rivalry. Two giants on similar paths, seemingly fighting for the same crown. For years, the media, the fans, and even industry insiders whispered about a silent battle between them. A rivalry driven by ambition, a quiet contest between two of the most influential guys of their generation. It's a great story, full of drama and intrigue. It's the kind of story that sells magazines. But it's not the real story. Not by a long shot. For years, the story of Randy Travis and Alan Jackson has been told in whispers around Nashville, but the story you think you know isn't the truth. The idea of a quiet, professional rivalry, of two kings defending their kingdoms, has been around for decades. It's a narrative built on assumptions, on how it looked to have two careers skyrocket at the exact same time. But now, as Randy Travis looks back on a life in music, the real story of his relationship with Alan Jackson is coming out, and it completely dismantles the myth. It isn't a story of competition. It isn't about professional jealousy or a silent fight for the top spot. The real story, the one that's been hiding in plain sight this whole time, is one of a deep, powerful friendship. It's a story of collaboration and mutual respect that didn't just shape their lives, it shaped the future of country music. And that's the truth that's been waiting to be told. To really get the bond between Randy Travis and Alan Jackson, you have to go back to what country music sounded like in the mid-1980s. The genre was at a crossroads. The rough around the edges, outlaw sound of Waylon and Willie had faded into the slicker, pop-friendly, urban cowboy phase. That style sold records, sure, but it left a lot of fans missing the storytelling and traditional instruments that were the bedrock of country music. Nashville was looking for its next big thing, and then, in 1986, Randy Travis showed up. His debut album, Storms of Life, wasn't just a record, it was a revolution. His rich, warm baritone voice was totally different from anything on the radio. It was a voice that seemed to hold the entire history of country music. The honesty of Hank Williams, the smoothness of George Jones, and the storytelling of Merle Haggard. Songs like On the Other Hand and Diggin' Up Bones were pure, unapologetic country full of fiddles and steel guitars. The album was a massive hit, becoming the first country debut to go platinum within a year. Randy Travis wasn't just a new star. He was a phenomenon who proved there was a huge audience hungry for real country music. Right as the waves from Travis's debut were hitting their peak, another artist from Georgia was heading to Nashville with a similar fire. Alan Jackson arrived in 1989, a tall, quiet songwriter with a knack for turning everyday life into incredible songs. His 1990 debut, Here in the Real World, cemented the neo-traditional movement that Travis had kicked off. Jackson's music was cut from the same traditional cloth, but with his own unique style. Songs like the title track and Chasin' That Neon Rainbow showed off a world-class songwriter and a singer whose voice was honest and instantly relatable. Like Travis, Jackson's rise was fast. He became one of the biggest stars in music, period, with a long string of #1 hits and platinum albums. Together, Randy Travis and Alan Jackson were the architects of a new era. They were the faces of a movement that brought country music back to its roots and dominated the charts for a decade. And it was this parallel rise to the top that created the myth of a rivalry that would follow them for years. In the entertainment world, a rivalry is an easy story to sell. It's a compelling narrative that pits two stars against each other in a made-up battle. For Randy Travis and Alan Jackson, the script practically wrote itself. You had two artists dedicated to the same traditional sound. Both were critically acclaimed and selling millions of records. They were up for the same awards, and their songs often bumped each other out of the #1 spot on the charts. To a lot of people, it looked like a classic King of the Hill fight. Who was the real leader of the movement? Who was the bigger star? This idea was helped along by their personalities. Both men were known for being pretty quiet and reserved. They let their music do the talking instead of getting into a lot of flashy showmanship. From a distance, that focus on the craft could look like something else. Was their silence a sign of respect, or was it simmering tension? Without any public declarations of friendship, a lot of people just filled in the blanks with rumors. They were seen as two powerhouses in the same orbit, bound to collide. And think about the time. The late 80s and early 90s were a golden age for country music. Garth Brooks was becoming a global phenomenon. Clint Black was another traditionalist. Starr and George Strait was still King George. In a field that crowded, the media and fans looked for ways to frame things, to create interesting matchups. The Travis Jackson dynamic was a perfect fit because they were so similar. It wasn't a clash of styles like punk versus disco. It was framed as a battle for the very soul of the traditional sound. Their careers were also perfectly timed to fuel the myth. Travis's breakout in the mid-'80s paved the road for Jackson's arrival a few years later. Jackson then carried that traditionalist torch deep into the 90s. It looked like a passing of the baton, but one that could easily be spun as a competition. Was Jackson building on Travis's legacy, or was he trying to eclipse it? These were the questions that kept the myth alive, but without any real drama, it was all just talk. The real story wasn't happening on award show stages. It was happening behind the scenes, far from the public eye. The real relationship between Randy Travis and Alan Jackson started not with competition, but with pure admiration, long before they were both superstars. Alan Jackson, just starting out, was a huge fan of Randy Travis. Jackson has talked about his early days in Nashville, seeing Travis at places like the Nashville Palace when his song 1982 was just starting to get some buzz. For a hopeful artist like Jackson, seeing someone like Travis make it big with traditional country wasn't a reason for envy. It was an inspiration. It was proof that the kind of music he wanted to make still had a home in Nashville. But the moment that should have crushed the rivalry myth for good happened on a legendary stage on a summer night in 1991. On June 7th, Alan Jackson, just 2 albums in but already a huge star, was about to get one of country music's highest honors, an induction into the Grand Ole Opry. And the person chosen to welcome him into that legendary family was none other than Randy Travis himself, standing right next to the iconic Roy Acuff. If there had been any real tension between them, that moment just wouldn't have happened. The choice of an inductor is deeply personal and symbolic. It's an official endorsement, a passing of the torch with grace. Randy Travis, who had already toured for about 54 shows with Jackson, stood on that stage and talked about his friend with a warmth that left no doubt. His words weren't the polite, carefully crafted remarks of a colleague. They were the genuine words of a friend. I worked with this guy on about 54 shows, and he's going to become the 68th member of the Opry, Travis said, his voice full of pride. Then he made it personal. He's one of the nicest people I've ever met in this business. He went on to praise Jackson's music, saying, "He's probably one of my favorites, too, because he does the kind of music I like and is a great songwriter and wonderful singer, too." And then he delivered the line that should have ended all. The rumors right then and there. And a great friend, I'm happy to say. In that one moment, Randy Travis told the truth. He tore down the fiction of a rivalry and replaced it with the fact of a friendship. He used his platform to lift his friend up, not to compete. This wasn't a rivalry. It was a brotherhood. For Jackson, that night was his favorite Opry memory, standing next to a legend like Roy Acuff and being welcomed by his friend Randy Travis. It was a public sign of a deep connection that was already growing behind the scenes. While the public was busy speculating about a rivalry, Randy Travis and Alan Jackson were deep in one of the most real creative partnerships of the time. The biggest proof of their friendship isn't in interviews. It's etched into the grooves of some of country music's greatest hits. They didn't just tour together, they wrote songs together. And these weren't just album fillers, they were chart-topping singles that helped define Randy's sound in the early 90s. They often wrote on the road during their tour in 1990 and 1991. Travis once joked that they'd get together to write, often after he'd bribe Alan with a good meal. They'd work out, grab lunch, and then get to writing songs. It was a partnership that just worked. True rivals don't sit down and share their best ideas to make their supposed competitor even more successful. Friends do. Their most famous collaboration is probably Better Class of Losers from Travis's 1991 album, High Lonesome. It's a witty masterpiece about a guy who marries into high society and finds HIS. But maybe the biggest sign of their friendship is the hit song, She's Got the Rhythm and I Got the Blues. Also co-written by Travis and Jackson, this song didn't end up on a Randy Travis album. It was recorded by Alan Jackson for his 1992 album, A Lot About Livin' and A Little About Love. And it became a #1 hit for him. Think about that. They weren't just writing songs for Randy's career, they were just writing great country songs, and they were happy to see them succeed. No matter who was singing, the song was what mattered, and the success was shared. The charts and the awards tell part of the story, but the liner notes tell the truth. Randy Travis and Alan Jackson were never rivals. They were partners. The friendship between Randy Travis and Alan Jackson runs deeper than a tour bus or a writing room. It's a bond built on a shared belief in what country music is supposed to be. Both of them built their careers on traditional sounds when that wasn't the easy path. They were purists who believed in the power of a fiddle, a steel guitar, and a good story. That shared belief created a powerful connection between them, a sense of being kindred spirits in an industry that was always changing. Over the years, both men have been pretty open about their worries over the direction of modern country music. Alan Jackson especially famously called out the genre's popification with his 2000 George Strait duet, Murder on Music Row. Years later, he'd expressed that same feeling, saying he felt real country music is gone. In 2021, when Jackson was talking about his concerns, the enduring respect between the two men was on display again. The official Randy Travis social media account responded not with an argument, but with solidarity. The post acknowledged Jackson's feelings, but also pointed to a new generation of artists carrying the traditional torch, basically saying, "Don't give up hope, my friend. The music we love is still alive." It was a respectful public conversation between two of the genre's elder statesmen. It was never about conflict. It was about a shared passion. This mutual support has been a constant. When Randy Travis was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2016, it was an incredibly emotional night. Travis was still recovering from the massive stroke he'd suffered in 2013, which had nearly taken his life and had silenced his iconic voice. Artist after artist lined up to honor him, and of course, Alan Jackson was one of them. Jackson took the stage to sing On the Other Hand, a perfect tribute from one neo-traditionalist icon to another. He talked about their early days touring together, comparing the effect Travis had on crowds to Elvis Presley. It was a tribute full of love, admiration, and a deep understanding of the massive impact his friend had on music. This is the core of their relationship. It's a bond that has survived the pressures of fame, industry changes, and incredible personal challenges. Through it all, their mutual respect, shared values, and real friendship have never wavered. So, what is the big truth that Randy Travis is finally telling about Alan Jackson? The answer is actually much simpler and more profound than any clickbait headline. The truth isn't some long-lost secret or a shocking confession of a hidden feud. The real truth is the quiet, steady friendship itself. The only revelation is that the rivalry was a total myth, a story made up by people who saw two guys succeeding at the same time and assumed they had to be competitors. The truth is that in an industry famous for egos and rivalries, Randy Travis and Alan Jackson chose to build a partnership based on collaboration and a shared love for real country music. The most shocking thing about their relationship is that there's nothing shocking about it. It's a story of decency and respect, and this truth was never really a secret if you knew where to look. It was on the Grand Ole Opry stage in 1991, when Randy called Alan a great friend for everyone to hear. It was in the liner notes of the High Lonesome album, where their names were listed side by side as co-writers. It was on that tour bus in 1990, where they spent a year writing songs together. And it was at the Country Music Hall of Fame in 2016, when Alan paid tribute to his friend and hero. Lately, the internet has been flooded with sensational videos promising to reveal the untold story about these two. They often just recycle the same old facts and slap a dramatic title on it to get views, playing into the very myth they claim to be busting. But the reality is way more interesting. The story of two of music's biggest stars choosing to be allies, instead of enemies, and friends instead of rivals, is a much more powerful tale than any made-up feud. The truth Randy Travis's career represents is one of integrity. It's the truth that you can get to the top of your field without tearing other people down. It's the truth that working together can be more powerful than competing against each other. The real story isn't about a truth that's finally being told. It's about a truth that's been proven over and over for more than 30 years. What's your favorite song from the incredible partnership of Randy Travis and Alan Jackson? Is it the witty Better Class of Losers, the heartfelt Forever Together, or the fun She's Got the Rhythm and I Got the Blues? Let us know your favorite in the comments below, and let's celebrate the amazing music these two friends gave the world. And if you love hearing the real stories behind country music's greatest legends, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss what's next. When you look back, the story of Randy Travis and Alan Jackson isn't one of rivalry but of harmony. It's a story of two unique voices that came together to define a generation of country music. On their own, their legacies are massive. Randy Travis was the trailblazer who kicked the door back open for traditional country with a voice that is still one of the most respected in history. Alan Jackson was the master songwriter who took that sound and told the stories of millions, becoming one of the most beloved artists ever. Each one is a legend in his own right, but their combined story is something more. It's a story of how their friendship and collaboration made them both better. The songs they wrote together aren't just footnotes. They're essential chapters in the story of modern country music. The support they've always shown each other, from the Opry stage to the Hall of Fame, is a powerful example in the often cynical world of celebrity. They chose friendship over fighting and lifted each other up, and in doing so, they lifted up the entire genre they loved. The tale of a silent rivalry was always the easy story to tell. But the truth, the quiet, unshakable friendship of Randy, Travis, and Alan Jackson is the one that really matters. It's a testament to the real heart of country music, a genre that, at its best, is all about community, honesty, and shared experience. Their relationship is a reminder that the strongest bonds are often the quietest ones, built not in the spotlight, but in the harmony of a well-written song. The truth has been there all along.